Get your stinking rat out. It's late night large.
Welcome to a late night large that blocked your toilet and left without buying anything. I am your just empty the till into this bag and nobody gets hurt, Aaron Bliss, while your darting-eyed weirdo in a suspiciously large trench coat is Mike Large. How are we doing, Mike?
Yeah. Another week. But, you know, is there a light? Well, yeah, but that's what we'll discuss, I guess.
It is, yeah, it is. Mike, sometimes I think maybe the preamble doesn't go on long enough. I was just going to...
I think sometimes the content speaks to itself.
No, but what I mean is, we don't want to spend... Hang on, I'm getting a bit of feedback here. Let me just unplug this. Sorry. As I was saying, let's do a bit more of a preamble where we talk about, personal, how we're getting through the lockdown before we start ranting and raving at the state of the country.
Okay, all right.
So, Mike, aside from whinging about what a horrible strain and you're under the job that you're forced to every day, how you got any advice for anyone out there how you're getting through lockdown, keeping your spirits up, particularly having to deal with the general public all day?
I mean, that's not easy. How the fuck I haven't killed someone, I don't. No, I think the key thing is, and if you think about it, it's an obvious one. Just vigorous masturbation. That's the that's the way. Path to enlightenment. So
tantric masturbation.
Get huge forearms, like your boy here, right? All of a sudden, lockdown. What lockdown? Who cares?
Well, we always endeavour to provide a forearm for masturbate, don't we?
We do indeed. And let's see that forearm.
I mean, I personally think that's the finest wordplay I might have ever come up with. But I tell you what, it's been this particular time that it's tempted me. Sorry, you don't know because you're not on Instagram. Now, one of us is on Instagram because one of us has to run the Late Night Large Instagram account. But no, I would recommend Instagram. It's kind of like...
Go on, why?
Because it's where Facebook used to be before.
Fuck off. Why do you recommend it?
What do you mean why I recommend? Oh, no, I see where you're growing with this, but let me finish my thought.
Go on, finish your lie and then tell us the truth.
Oh, yeah. Okay, Mike, Mr. Cynical. So, actually, I'm the cynic. You're the sodomite. So, when people particularly on Instagram, because it's a photo sharing website, a social media site, they say stuff like someone will post a random picture with a filter, or heavily filtered, obviously, but they'll post something that they've just received through the post or whatever, and it will always have like the standard thought I'd treat myself during lockdown. You know what I mean? And it's something they've just ordered through eBay or Amazon, whatever. And I've just thought, it just occurred to me, like, it just seems like the right time to do one of those, saying just treated myself for lockdown, and just like pornographic DVD. Like,
well, hang on, you haven't done that yet.
You and me know that stuff's being, that's being purchased all the time, obviously, although DVDs not very often. But what I'm trying to say, Mike, is it's like people, I don't know, it's got to the stage where, well, it's been the stage for a while, it's not considered socially the thing to do, is it? Treating myself with some pornographic DVDs. But I think we've come to the stage where it's edgy to say that now. I think you can legitimately, you could whack out some Debbie Does Dallas, whatever the modern version is, or hardcore BDSM, of human bondage kind of stuff. Whack it down, or double-ended dildo fun, whatever. Whack it down, take a picture, treated myself to this, see how long it takes you to be reported and removed from Instagram. But Are we in that age? Is this now the right way to go? Do you think, Mike?
I'm torn between the answer I want to give and
right?
the answer I want to give.
Yeah, see, you're
That
still
doesn't make
stuck.
sense.
You're still stuck in that paradigm. You're still thinking, I'm watching porn all the time, and I
Right
purchase
now.
them, and but I don't really want to say I do that because then I look a bit grubby and fuck it.
Oh no, I don't give a fuck for that. Let's be honest. Yeah, like I say, I've got a window open right now. I'm watching porn right now.
I'm not gonna ask any more questions about that.
Let your mind go where it wants to
yeah.
go.
I don't want
It's
my mind
natural.
going anywhere with that.
Explore it. It's natural. You're in a safe environment, right? Lockdown Large is a safe environment. Okay. All right. Tell us how that makes you feel. Oh, he's aroused. That's what it is. He's going shy because he's aroused.
That's why I had a drink.
Yeah, I get it. I get it.
Look, that's just apologise for Mike's deviancy. Anyway, enough porn. And
yeah. How did we get onto that anyway? That's you.
Yeah, look, male or female, we've all had to relieve ourselves during this pandemic. Unless we live with our loved one, most of us have to do that kind of thing. Anyway, off that subject, Mike, are you sure there's nothing more wholesome you'd like to say to people on how you've managed to keep your spirits up during lockdown?
Look, we've given
each other kids rather than...
I mean, that is the advice for the kids, the adults. No. Fucking, that's dark, man. What's wrong with you? But no, we've done it before. I think we've touched on stuff. We've said some lovely things in previous shows.
Okay.
But maybe you're right. Maybe it is worth kind of just reiterating some of that stuff in case it's forgotten or the message gets lost or amongst the bullshit and the talk of masturbation, where'd that come from? But yeah, there is a serious kind of side to it.
Yeah, maybe our nihilism does tip into absurdism a little bit too often. What I'm saying is maybe ground it a little bit in where is that?
In small doses, ground ourselves for a little bit, and then oh no, we're gone again. But no. I mean, like I said, we have touched on things before. We've touched a lot of things. I can't help it. I'm sorry.
2 sentences in a row, Mike. Try 2 sentences in a row without you.
I'm fucking vile. All right. I'm a piece of shit. What more do you want me? There, I've said it. So I hope you're happy.
Yeah.
No. Seriously, especially those, I suppose, that live on their own. I think that's actually, you say that. But I mean, I can think of some people, and I shan't mention names. If I was living with them right now, Jesus Christ, oh my Lord, but yeah, no. For those on their own, I think it's important to find something to keep yourself busy, isn't it? Keep your mind occupied, because there's nothing worse than an idle, unfulfilled mind left to wander, and just toil and
yeah.
You need to keep yourself busy with something. Yeah, we have mentioned it before. Your little woodworking project that you've probably sat down the head now, haven't you? I imagine. Yeah.
Yeah.
Typical.
No, you're right. No, that was a good example. I mean, I did that during the film. Unfortunately, do you know what? If you want to ground it, Mike, I'll tell you something I did that took up most of this week. Well, I'll tell you the 2 major projects I worked on this week.
Stop talking about masturbation. We're getting off that.
No, that's your thing, Mike. You want to talk about that, so let's be clear about that. No, the two projects I've been on this week, these projects don't have to be like studying chemical engineering or whatever. Just do stuff that like makes you feel something, even if it's just ridiculous and amusing stuff. So, Mike, I know again what you're drawing back to. No, my two projects this week. So I spent more time than I should have editing together. Do you remember the football match the Battle of Bramall Lane in 2002, where
I know what you're doing with this, and
it got abandoned famously because there weren't enough players for Sheffield United to continue the game. So what I did was I cut that to like
brilliant.
6-minute clip, and then I replaced the commentary with commentary solely from the hysterical commentator from International Superstar Soccer 64. Now, that took most of my free time during the week. And did it fulfill anything at the time I was making it? Yes. Was it like a gift to the world? Also, yes. Was it anything that really benefits mankind? Yes. So it, that was like, it wasn't quite the Sistine Chapel, but it was on the way there. So that was my achievement for the week, or rather at the weekend.
I think you can expect some sort of Nobel Prize.
Yeah, I think so. If you want to send some Venmo payments my way, I don't have a Venmo account, but set one up in my name, maybe a GoFundMe even. Appreciate that, thank you. And the other project, which was less successful, was Mike. I've reached the worst point, I think, in a young man's life. You'll know this. Next to the internet going out, which means no access to porn, immediate access. The second worst thing, the games console breaking down. So my Xbox, after, 13 or 14 years, I think, of faithful service, it's decided it will continue trying to read a disc over and over again and never being able to find it.
It's been struggling for years.
It has been struggling for years. It's often taken nearly 10 minutes at times of banging and shaking and ejecting and putting back in. Finally, it won't do that anymore. It won't even begin to try and recognize. You can't even hear the the laser and the spinner actually starting.
The little whirring, it's just nothing.
Yeah, it's sort of the first part of the whirring, and then it just like a stuck record. So I thought, right, I need to sort this out. Went on YouTube, of course. How do I sort this out? And the basic thing came back. Unfortunately, you need to take the thing completely to pieces. Blast it with air, blow it, suck all the dust crap out of it. I mean, honestly, Mike, as soon as you hear suck, it's like.
I don't know what's wrong with me. I do, actually.
Yeah. It's too much isolation, clearly.
Yeah.
But I did all of that, Mike. Mike, you wouldn't believe how long it took, because for anyone who's tried to dismantle their Xbox, much like, again, Mike will instantly say it's like breaking in a woman. The first time is incredibly difficult and painful. So it was incredibly difficult to get the thing to pieces, because you have to pull off a number of clips on both sides of the casing at the same time, etc., etc., etc. Anyway, it took a hell of a long time, needed some help. God knows how many screws unscrewed, whatever. And finally, I get the CD drive out, managed to get the bottom plate or whatever out of it. I don't know if there was any other way of dismantling it, but the only way I could do it is where the laser pointer was pointing away from me, which I preferred would be the other way, so I can at least know I've cleaned it properly. Didn't happen. Anyway, I cleaned every trace of dust 3 times over, blew every area around the machine, all the dust out, particularly on the drive, just microscopically checking. Everything was immaculately clean. Putting it back together, luckily, took half the time of taking it apart. Take it back up, nothing has changed. It's exactly the same as it was. All that labour, and it hasn't fixed it.
I mean, it had a good run.
Mike, don't you even suggest that I'm not going to be able to use it anymore.
I think you need to accept that finally you need to lay it to rest.
Well,
Rest in peace.
there must be some way of transferring the hard drive memory over, but I don't know. You may be right.
There will be. I'm sure.
I hope so. It's infuriating though, because I went to all that effort, and literally that's what it says online. It says if the disk reader is causing this problem, 99%, you need to take it apart, clear all the dust out. It's dust that's causing the problem. Is it fuck? So there we go. That was my big failure of the week. So there we go. That's generally what I've been spending most of my time failing at this week. Are you going to add anything, Mike, other than your?
But you had a big fucking success. Let's go back to that, because you're ending on a sour note there. No, that your week wasn't a failure. You had a failure in your week.
True, yeah. No,
your week was a success.
Sorry.
And anyone who hasn't seen or witnessed that success for themselves yet,
please check
where the fuck have you been? What the fuck have you been doing? Oh, been at work. Quit. Yeah. Have a look. Have a look.
Please, people, have a look at this.
Feeding my kids and going to work, and
this keeps your kids entertained. It's child friendly. There's no porn on it, no matter what we joke about. Just check.
That was the only thing that actually let it down, I thought. But
no porn, yeah. Although it did have some X-rated tackles, so
it did, yeah. This is kind of porn.
Yeah. Well, unsuitable for children at least. But seriously, people, check it out. The Battle of Bramall Lane, narrated by the hysterical ISS 64 commentator. Check it out on YouTube now.
He has done it quite well.
Dude,
maybe I'll tell you what. Post a little linky to it when you post this. Post a link to it.
Yeah, you know what? I will do. So check out the Late Night Large Facebook page. Probably
reference
Instagram.
To the show.
We'll link it with a reference to the show. Do check it out. It had. Do you know it had a copyright claim against it, right? And immediately after it had been posted, I was like, hold on a minute, because I mean I never made any thing of claiming the copyright. I mean it has like Sheffield United TV logo in the corner, so I was like, I put in the comments, fair use. I clearly don't own the copyright, don't claim to, and I'm not going to profit from the video. So I was like, oh great, it's going to be up for 5 minutes and then it'll be removed. But then of course when I went in and read the claim detail, the copyright claim was actually from YouTube because they'd spotted it was copyright material. So it wasn't actually asking for it to be removed. It's simply something that they put in place to prevent you trying to monetize it. So happy day. It will remain online. So enjoy.
Good.
Anyway, what we're talking about tonight, Mike.
That's it, isn't it?
Done. I wish it was.
Thanks for coming.
Yeah, thanks for coming, people. We've spent probably half of the show talking positively, so give us that.
What the fuck is wrong with us?
Now we need to return to the real world, the real country. In this week in lockdown, there's been a couple of big stories. One of them just today, which is obviously having gone out. It'll be a couple of days ago, which is Boris Johnson's latest announcement. Mike, before we get onto any of that, because the big stories we'll be discussing in a minute, take that bottle out of your mouth. The big stories we'll be discussing in a minute are obviously Matt Hancock's being found guilty, I believe, at the Supreme Court of, we'll let you know in a minute, and the roadmap announced by Boris Johnson, the sequence of events we can expect to be leading us out of lockdown gradually in the coming weeks and months. Before I get to that, Mike, I just thought, I think this came to me at work today, just a random thought, and it was a stupid thought. And then I thought about it a bit longer, and I thought, actually, it doesn't sound too stupid when you analyze it. It will sound stupid at first, but then I'll explain, right? So if I threw this statement at you, what would be your reaction? If I said to you, could a pervert, pisshead, crack addict, or cannibal have done a better job than Boris Johnson of handling this pandemic?
Yeah.
Right. So that popped into my head as a stupid kind of query, and then I looked at it and I was like, I started analysing in my own head, legitimately, and I began to kind of knock each of them off. So, could a pervert have done a better?
You did.
Yeah. Well, there's an argument that a pervert and a coke addict could describe Boris Johnson anyway. But aside from that, could a pervert? Probably not, because there'd have probably been a number of indiscretions involving women. The contracts he gave out would probably have been to women he wanted to sleep with, and he'd have probably been in a lot more trouble a lot earlier, and would have.
I'm going to interject there. It's not that much different.
Well, maybe this is going to prove my point. So the pervert's a bit ropey. The coke
Pervert, I'm saying pervert could. Move
okay.
on.
The coke addict or crack addict, whatever, but let's say coke addict. Are we saying almost anyone on the front bench isn't a coke addict? About the only one I can imagine not being a coke addict might be Priti Patel. Dominic Raab often sounds like he's on ketamine, but maybe not so much of a coke fiend as old Bozza. So if we say that most of the senior front bench, particularly I think Michael Gove and Bozza, could be probably described as coke addicts, we could say that could apply. Maybe the cannibal is too far. Maybe that's a scurrilous speculation too far. We have no proof here on Late Night Large or even groomers that any of the cabinet have indulged in the tasting of human flesh, unless you've heard anything different, Mike.
I mean, I imagine a few of them tasted some human flesh.
Oh, I left that wide open.
You did leave it wide open, and actually, yeah, we could go on.
Tasted cooked human flesh, then.
Yeah, smoke it.
It's civilized. They're not going to eat it raw, are they? So civilized cannibals. Okay, so pervert coke addict, we're saying maybe. Now here's where I think I really win the argument. Pisshead. Could a pisshead have done a better job of managing this pandemic than Boris Johnson? This is where I think I've won. So if we look at the
explain.
Okay, so Lee Johnson out. Let's just talk about the pisshead. So I'm in his mindset. So the pisshead, he's notified about this virus when Johnson was. So what, end of January was it? End of January?
Yeah, let's ballpark that one. Yeah, cool.
Yeah. Okay, end of January, this pisshead's told virus, maybe we should be worried about this. Okay, he might be too pissed. When he gets to the next day with a hangover, before he's had a chance to have another drink, he's reminded, this virus. And I reckon then he's like, maybe we better do something about it. Now, would the pisshead have missed 5 out of the first 5 Cobra meetings related to it? I would argue he'd probably only missed 4.
I mean,
combination of drunkenness and hangovers.
Look, it depends what pisshead you're talking about. Okay, let's make that clear. But yeah, I would like to think if being a drunkard was their only kind of affliction, I would say they're going to make one of them.
Yeah,
at least one of them.
I think even by accident, you would expect them to stagger into one of them. Like, sorry, boys. Yeah.
Someone's going to look after them. They'll have someone for this, and they'll like, come on, get on the plane. What do you mean he's too drunk to fly? Fuck off! Come on, get on the. Or just whatever it is.
Haze him and put him to sleep.
Yeah. Whatever they need to do. I reckon I'm going to say your average pisshead. Well, there's levels. There's levels to this. This is deeper than you thought.
No. When I say pisshead, I'm talking about in his prime. I'm not talking about the post 50 pisshead where he's not only has he got the pisshead behaviour, but his body's wrecked.
Right.
Whatever. So he's
talking general pub lout drunkard.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'd say Mrs. 2 tops.
Okay, no, that's fair. That's probably what I would assume. So he's already beaten Johnson there. So then when they say, if we don't close everything, there's a risk that loads of people are going to get infected. And he hears there's a risk that the pubs might have to be closed if that happens. Fucking hell, you would not close things down fast enough. He might not close the pubs, but he would restrict everything to the nth degree. Quickly as possible. Don't you fucking dare ruin my, evening out, my nightlife. We'll cut this off at source. So my argument is he acts early and he acts decisively on that because he knows that the pubs are at risk.
I'll tell you what, the borders are fucking shut straight away, aren't they?
Yeah. I mean, if you're talking to the average pisshead, I'm not saying they're all like this, but the majority, you'll hear something about too many foreigners, you know, too easy to get in this country. So, yeah.
You're generalising there, and that's terrible.
Yeah, because, I mean, we're being very sensitive to the needs of alcoholics, aren't we?
That's terrible. I can't
The
believe
whole
you.
show is generalising my...
I can't believe you've drawn that distinction there. That's disgusting.
Absolutely disgusting.
I don't condone that, kids.
And by the way, Mike, I also did a preamble saying that obviously not everyone's like this. So I immediately gave you the big warning sign that I was generalising. So
Right.
talking about a generalised pisshead, yeah, he usually thinks, fucking shut those borders down. Don't let that dirty virus get in here. Fair enough. He's closed the borders. He's restricted things enough, early enough, so he doesn't run the risk of the pubs having to be closed. Right? The vaccine, I mean, going back before the vaccine, the PPE medical stuff.
Well, I've got a question.
Go on.
So if we're saying borders shut is pretty much the first thing he does?
Logically, it should have been, yeah.
Stick a date on it. When did he shut the borders?
Well, I think pretty soon after he gets that advice that, listen, worst case scenario, we're going to have to shut the pubs, everything.
Right. 25th of January is when he's told. 25th of January, right? That's when he's told. When does he shut the borders?
I reckon.
So he's pissed up at the time.
Yeah,
so 26th, he wakes up, hangover, fucking virus, what?
Yeah. I reckon first week of February, latest. If
Yeah, February the 3rd.
Okay.
Yeah, okay, all right. Yeah. Okay. So he shut the... Do you think then that... What are the restrictions he's talking about, though? So he shuts the borders, February 3rd.
Yeah, that's true.
Boom, shut.
What do you think?
Don't fucking care. Shut.
Logically, he'd restrict then.
Well, I don't know. You said he's restricting stuff, but not the pubs. Do you think even shut the borders on the 3rd of Feb?
Yeah.
Do you think that's enough to avoid having to shut the pubs and stuff at any point?
Probably not. But what we're saying is, we're not saying that the pubs wouldn't have had to shut. What we're saying is, our pisshead would do everything in his armory to avoid the pubs being shut. I'm not saying he'd succeed, but he would take it a lot seriously and act a lot faster. So that's my argument. If we go to the PPE, right? So the biggest other problem we had, wasn't it? Too fucking late ordering PPE, contracts handed out like sweeties to someone they met down the pub. Now, my argument is the pisshead would do exactly the same thing. He would hand out contracts to his mates down the pub, but the difference is he would give it to people who he generally would know could deliver. It's like the guy in the pub always knows someone who's selling something from the back of his car. Now, yeah, it might not be the best product, but you know when he tells you that happens, you'll talk to that guy and he will have that. He's not going to say, oh, you know, this guy will sell you a stereo, and then you speak to him and go, no, don't do stereos at all, no. And you've already handed the contract over. So to me, the pisshead, yes, he'll still give it to his mates, which is no different to the government, but what will be different is he'll fucking give it to people who know what they're doing. Because one thing pissheads know is they know who they know. He's not just going to give them out because, like, oh, you know, this guy lent him, actually, maybe he is, lent him money for a drink sometime.
Yeah.
Fair enough. He'll make mistakes, but what I'm saying is I think he'll be more liable to pick people who knew what they were doing in terms of medical equipment. Oh, Baz, your sister's a nurse, isn't she? Yeah, and her brother, medical equipment, is it? Yeah, Get him. Meet with me down here, and we'll sort something out.
We'll have a beer, right? And we'll talk about getting some fucking kit sorted for the country, all right? Yeah, sorted.
I can see that. Yeah. So,
yeah.
And then of course we come to, where do we come to now? Vaccines. To be fair, that's the one thing that the government, and by the government I mean the NHS, has done exceptionally well. I don't think I can't really complain too much. We're rattling through them faster than I potentially thought we would. I mean, at this stage, officially, we've given at least one dose of vaccine to over a quarter of the population. So I think that's pretty good going.
It's not bad, is it? It's not bad.
No.
I think the NHS has done a banging job on that, to be fair. So
yeah, I think is if there wasn't so much other terrible shit going on, you know, it's the kind of thing I would legitimately say we need to have a fucking celebration of this. This is like a huge accomplishment that this institution's done during this time of crisis, particularly considering the financial challenges it had because of the previous 10 years.
The strain it was already under.
Yeah. And it's been shown that large numbers of the NHS staff are like literally the mental state is similar to soldiers coming from a war zone. That's how badly the conditions they're going through at the minute are, in terms of just the overwhelming numbers of incredibly ill patients. So that's a huge achievement. So we'll remove the vaccines because we can't really criticize anything about that. They finally did something right. They gave it to the NHS. They trusted them. And
all right, but does your drunk do it?
I think he does, because I think he's a very straightforward character, isn't he? Who are we going to get to do the vaccines?
NHS, huh? Give it to the NHS.
Yeah, fucking health service. That's what health service for. Let them do it. So I think he does that. So in finality of my point, Mike, I think a pisshead does a better job than Boris Johnson of handling this pandemic. Do you agree?
Yes, I also think a pervert does.
You think someone solely motivated by skirt is going to do an... Hang on, this is sounding a lot similar to the actual Prime Minister. Yeah, I see what you're saying there. Yeah.
I think a pervert. In fact, I'm fucking telling you now, a pervert could have done a better job.
Mike, when you say pervert, do you mean you? Is this just a euphemism for Mike Large in charge?
You guys, Large and in charge, baby.
I can see that. Yeah.
I'd have rocked this fucking country. It'd have been.
Sadly, we will have to clean the mess up afterwards.
Worth it though.
As she so famously said.
Yeah. Yeah. She also said, fucking hell, that was the best 4 seconds of my life. So, do you know what I mean? Yeah, big clear up operation, but was it worth it? So, won't have many 4 seconds like that, I can fucking tell you.
Fuck's sake. Well done, Mike. Very good. So, we've agreed that, and by the way, we did suggest that a pervert, even if we accept it's maybe not Mike, we say a pervert could do a similar job to Johnson, who we kind of know is a bit of a pervert himself. The difference is a pervert only lies to get into women's knickers. They wouldn't just lie about everything. So that's where I think they'd have the upper hand. I think they would be more likely to at least tell the truth and have a certain level of accountability as long as it didn't get in the way of them scoring. Yeah, you see what I mean?
Yeah, and to be fair, like delivering this and being a national hero
would get him.
Like, think of all the fucking skirt you could have then. That's pretty big motivation to get it right.
That's very true.
If I save everyone from this fucking global, everyone in Britain, from fucking England or whatever, from this fucking global pandemic, they're going to be throwing themselves at me.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? He's there, he's thinking, fucking hell, I'm going to be just like Mike Large. Being off for the stick.
Spoken from the record. I think we've all agreed, though, at least the pervert and the pisshead would have done a better job than Boris Johnson. Moving on, Mike.
Who are the other two? Sorry, just quickly. Who are the other two?
Coke addict or cannibal. There's an argument that coke addict is basically, again, just Johnson.
Yeah, I don't think that. I think those two, though, pervert and pisshead.
Herbert and Pisshead, I think, stand a good chance. So, Mike, next we're going to talk about the big news, legal news this week of Hancock again in the news. I'm sure you heard about this. I think it was the Supreme Court decided that Matt Hancock has acted unlawfully. I think basically in two parts. One by the some of the contracts that he handed out during the pandemic, outsourcing for things like PPE provision and what have you. And the other part, which I think was the main part of the case, was he was also found to have acted unlawfully by failing to disclose how he came to those decisions quickly enough for accountability reasons. Now, Matt Hancock, who we now know is the guy with the rictus grin of a man who's just been told what the police have found on his hard drive, he is, I mean, the things that he's been through the last few weeks, and you just think, so he fouled up most of the pandemic response. He's now been found to have acted unlawfully. Will he be hung out to dry? No. Will he apologise? No. Will he resign? No. So I again come back to this. I know it's very doom-laden rhetoric, but what chance do we have of things ever getting better if there's no punishment and no consequences for either terminal incompetence bordering on negligence and barefaced corruption? Are there any positives to that story?
I'm trying. No, I think you're right. Ultimately, you're right. I mean, if you're gonna challenge political leaders for doing things like that, fair play, but for fuck's sake, do it properly, go through with it, make examples if you have to. I mean, it would have been better. I mean, look, we don't know what exactly will end up happening, etc. We don't have a crystal ball at the time of recording. We don't know really much more than you've already said.
Yeah.
But if you're not gonna come down on these people who should be like held accountable for their actions, more so than really probably anyone else. You know, you got people all the time getting fucking hung out to dry for various misdemeanors that are nowhere near as serious, but yet proper sanctions are imposed. And these people should be, you know, people criticize celebrities all the time for the way they act and the things they do and the way they're seen in public, regardless of what their celebrity actually comes, what form that comes in, why they're famous.
Yeah.
But you're famous, you should be a better example. Kids are watching TV and stuff and whatever. Well, who other than these people running the country does that actually apply to more? Like, no one. They should be the pinnacle of all that is right and just. They should be the shining beacons, the examples of exactly how everyone else should conduct themselves. Now, I know that's maybe thinking like fucking hell, like they are human, they're not saints, and you know, okay, fair enough, but also, you know, they have great power. With great power comes great responsibility. You know, if you're not gonna sanction them properly, don't bother. Don't Don't make a fucking mockery of it all. Just turn a fucking blind eye, like most people have most of the time through fucking history when this sort of shit's happened. Just turn a blind eye, or fucking stick it to them properly. Don't do something in the middle. In the middle just makes a fucking mockery of everything.
Yeah. You've summed up pretty well, mate. I mean, to me, the scariest, and I mean this genuinely scary, as in terrifying part of this, is when that was announced about Matt Hancock's misdemeanor being, basically being found to have acted unlawfully in the middle of a national emergency. Only 2 newspapers mentioned it. Only 2 major national newspapers mentioned it.
You sound surprised.
I'm not surprised. I'm saying it's a reason to be very scared. If the major national newspapers and the BBC do not carry as a headline story that the health secretary acted illegally or unlawfully, however you term it, in the middle of a pandemic, and you think a bigger story is, Meghan Markle and Harry are coming back to the country. Oh, don't know what to make of them. Oh, have they done the right thing? Fuck's sake! I mean,
I think to be fair, that probably speaks to the kind of,
I know,
the level of the general public.
Do you know the interesting thing is, Mike, a point you made just now, which fucking good point, because it reminded me of a clip I watched earlier. I don't know if you've had the misfortune of seeing this. I say misfortune because it's a great documentary, but you just feel so depressed after. It's the story of Rupert Murdoch's rise in this country to owning so many newspapers and dominating political life. And one of the things that it says that he was initially driven by, that he still claims to be driven by, was that basically, it's the classic story of a guy who was slighted and then he had a grudge against the aristocracy and the snobby elites of British society, British high society. And what drove him, particularly with the Sun and stuff like this, was literally, it was his grudge for being rejected by them. He wanted to take them down a peg or two. So his actual ethos was, these people think they're above us. And someone was even making out almost like he had this communistic belief that we were all effectively equal. No one was any better than anyone else, despite the fact that he, more than anyone else, makes sure a certain elite of people get to hoard all the money. But he considers that everything else is fair game, unless it's his circle, in which case, no coverage allowed. But when he initially started out, that was his thing, was he wanted to take them down a peg or two, high society. And by high society, he included celebrities. Do you see where I'm growing with this?
Yeah.
So what you said earlier, which was a very pertinent point, was people seem to hold celebrities to higher standards than politicians. I give you Rupert Murdoch's ethos. I'm not saying everyone is completely brainwashed by Murdoch's propaganda. I'm saying, though, that he drives a lot of it. His newspapers started and threw fuel onto the fire of this obsession with celebrities. Celebrities everywhere. What are they doing? What are they doing here? What are they doing there? What are they doing from this vantage point miles away on a cruise ship? She's taking her top off. Just spying on and chronicling every indiscretion, every oh God, doesn't she look rough today? Or, oh, hasn't he put on weight? Hacking phones, all this kind of stuff. And then we're surprised when we get a culture where people, 20, 30 million people are obsessed when there's an update on the Kardashians' Instagram account. And a prominent cabinet minister, the guy in charge of health, completely, it's his brief, is found to have acted unlawfully. And the specifics of the unlawfulness were he gave out contracts to his mates, most of whom failed to deliver what was vital life-preserving equipment in PPE.
Was it, I mean, you'll know probably, was it that, or was it not just the fact that he didn't justify his decisions quick enough? So you have the 30-day kind of thing to go, this is why I did that.
I think
wasn't that the unlawful bit that he didn't stick to?
No, that was the main part of it. I think it was also mentioned, though, I mean, sorry, yeah, no, you're right. I mean, that was the whole point of the case, because the case couldn't have been that he handed those contacts out wrongly, because there wasn't enough information to judge whether he had. I mean, you could argue we know he had because so many of them were failures, like when we needed PPE. So he has clearly failed, but the way they do things in court is obviously they need a bigger burden of proof. So you have to legitimately hear him explain his reasoning before you judge whether that was unlawfully given out, which is fair enough, because he could just argue, I mean, I'm sure he wouldn't. He'll be like Boris Johnson and talk like black is white. But what he could do, if he had a spine and any scintilla of integrity, is he could say, well, you know, we all make mistakes. I'm sorry. I trusted that the company would fulfill their mandate and they let us down. And that, you know, you could accept that in the sense that, well, that was a bit shit, wasn't it? Can you pick up your performance a bit next time? But we'd forgive it. You know, it's forgivable, even if how many people died, particularly working in the health service, because of that lack of PPE. So legitimately, he's cost people lives, but it's still a very high pressure job. I think we could have still given him the benefit of the doubt. But the way that it's happened is he, like you say, what's been found unlawful is whatever excuse he gives for it, he's showing contempt for accountability by refusing to disclose how he came to the decisions. Now, you could argue, and I'm sure he will, he was very busy and there was some other extraneous reason that stopped him from presenting this information. But the cynic in us, and the cynic is very well nourished with previous behaviour by particularly Matt Hancock, I would say, Mike, do you come to the decision that the reason he's not disclosing the information is because he thinks it will be very compromising for him?
I think, yeah, it's pretty hard to come up with compelling reasons as to why he made the decisions he made. And I mean, if I was him, I'd be buying it as much fucking time as I could to try and rack my brains to actually come up with some bullshit story that even sounds semi-acceptable. Because,
yeah,
I mean, if he does, in a way, fair play to him, because that's high level bullshit right there. That's your top drawer stuff. That's your prime bullshit. So you know, if he's got that in his locker, hats off to him.
Fair play. Yeah, and sadly, the pattern of things, like we said, is horrible. Unlawful thing is done. Does the Prime Minister tell off or censure the minister? No, he doesn't. Does the minister even apologise? No, they don't. Do they resign? No, they don't. That's the standard way of things going. We now have to add the inevitable fourth, which is, does Keir Starmer demand that they resign or condemn them in any particular way? No. So those are the four things that now go in order. There's a massive failure. Does the Prime Minister censure them? No. Do they resign? No. Do they apologise? No. Does Keir Starmer demand their resignation? No. So that's what's happened again. And I've heard this bandied around. It does bear repeating. Keir Starmer, when he was Director of Public Prosecutions, wanted kids who'd taken bottles of water from smashed shop windows to potentially get 10-year jail sentences. And yet he's not demanding the resignation of a minister who's been found to acted unlawfully and breached the ministerial code. So anyone who's idealistic about this leader of the opposition, in inverted commas, like being consistent with his logic, the only consistency at the moment seems to be that is this in the interest of the establishment? Well, then that's what side I'm on. I have to admit, I took my breath away with how many cock-ups, unforced cock-ups he's made in the last few weeks that people have criticised him for. To me, that's an open goal calling for Matt Hancock's resignation. I mean, Mike, do you have a devil's advocate argument? Why is the leader of the opposition not saying, it's not as if, oh, they've behaved badly, we've read in the newspapers. It's a court in England, the Supreme Court has said he breached the ministerial code and acted unlawfully. That's an open goal, isn't it?
I'd have thought so. I mean, I think the reason maybe they might be a little bit cautious about taking that shot is, are they really squeaky clean? Like,
Mike, it's never been the case that the opposition party needs to make sure they're squeaky clean before they criticise a government minister that's actually acted unlawfully.
No, it hasn't. I'm just desperately trying to think of a reason why you wouldn't take that shot. I mean, is it? Are they worried about backlash? Is what I mean.
This is the only thing
okay. So if we come out and condemn this to the point where we call for someone's resignation, we're opening a can of worms there, where we do something similar, and we're likely to.
But I mean, the Conservative government have already done that. I mean, there's examples of where they've literally condemned behaviour that they've then done themselves. I mean, Matt Hancock was made a tit out of, wasn't he, when he made that ridiculous speech about the boys fighting at Dunkirk or something. Didn't do that so that a prime minister could, close down Parliament. And then Boris Johnson did it, and Matt Hancock was just like. So yeah, I mean, there's already precedence for it. I can kind of get where you're scratching for ideas, but honestly, is he so terrified of right-wing newspapers? That's all I can think of. I don't get how an average member of the general public looks at that, and in any way that would be bad optics to say that a minister who's acted unlawfully. And also, to me, it's not just the optics of how bad that minister looks and how, absolute no-brainer it is that breach ministerial code, acted unlawfully, you resign. To me, that's so logical, and was for many years. I don't, there's no illogical part of that. But the average member of the public, when they see that, surely they must be like, oh, fair enough. Yeah, well, if he breaks the law, if I break the law, I get fined, or I get a night in the lick, or whatever. To me, the only thing I can think of is, he feels like the right-wing press have got something on him, that they're going to bring out all guns blazing if he calls for the resignation. But I just don't see any other backlash he could get to it. And also, Mike, does it not also, other than the fact he's missed an open goal, don't you think it looks like bad optics for the former director of public prosecutions to see that a minister has acted unlawfully, and however he tried to explain it, nothing to see here. Just let him get on with it. It's a difficult job. Does that not look really bad?
Doesn't look great, does it?
No. Anyway, enough of that. So Finally, we've today got an announcement on the roadmap out of lockdown. We're not going to talk about it too long. We're just going to touch on it because it literally was announced when we were recording this. Mike, we're only going to talk about the first part of lockdown, which I think was announced, which was
the 8th.
Was it the 8th?
Stuff on the 8th. 8th, isn't it?
What is that? March? 8th of March.
8th of March, yeah.
So what's happening?
I think so.
March? Do you remember, Mike?
School's open.
Right. That's the only thing we're going to mention now.
That's the main thing, isn't it? School's open.
Didn't they say
rule of 6 thing comes back?
I think you can meet one person outdoor. No, I think the rule of 6 is a bit later. I think it's one person outdoor for exercise. Anyway.
Oh, you're right, actually, yeah.
Yeah, so I think the rule of 6 is the next stage. So, Mike, of all the times we keep doing this, and we keep saying, what plan have they got for schools? To me, there could have been a number of plans. Mass vaccinations specifically for teachers, or some kind of procedure in schools where they're half full and half are in another building, or ultimately maybe staggered reopenings. That schools only in certain areas open initially, see what the blowback is in terms of infections, then maybe open some more schools very steadily like that, yeah? So step by step.
Ooh, which schools do you open first then? Which
Well,
part of the country do you say
I'm not a paid
be the
government
test dummies?
minister. I'm not a paid government minister, am I? Anyway, Mike, quickly, do you not get the impression that this is going to be the same old shit again, that we've learned absolutely nothing? And also that Gavin Williamson is one of the laziest ministers in the history of ministry. I mean, he's been wasting everyone's time this week with his Kafkaesque kind of, oh, we're defending freedom of speech by restricting speech we don't agree with and making sure that freedom speech we do agree with is allowed in universities and encouraged. He's spent shitloads of time on that where there's no problem, and there's like empirically no problem, and yet he doesn't seem to have done anything about making schools safe. Is this another catastrophe in the making, Mike? Do you really think it's sensible to open every school again when we know they're vectors of transmission after March the 8th?
Do I think it's sensible? No, I think it's too much too soon. I think the other measures they're talking about, okay, cool. If you can do opening schools again is not on the same level. It's not on the same tier as like the other stuff they're mentioning. That should be way back down step 4, 5, 6, whatever. I don't know how many fucking steps there are, but it should not be step 1. Put it that way. And one thing I would say as well is we've had 3 lockdowns now. If we fuck up coming out of this one, and in a couple of months' time, few months' time, whatever, we head into lockdown 4, that's gonna fuck a lot of people over. And I mean financially, I mean mentally, physically as well. It takes its toll, trust me. We can't. I don't think a lot of people in this country. I don't think, and the country itself, a lot of businesses, lockdown 4 would be disastrous. It would be, especially after all the hope and the good news stories about how the vaccines are working. And if we fuck that up for the sake of a few weeks or a month even, and end up 6-8 weeks later writing off the rest of the year again, in lockdown, I mean, I honestly believe a lot of people would fail to cope with that.
Yeah, I think that's a fair point. We're on the same page, Mike. I saw that and I just think, okay, schools, what they did, all schools open from 8th of March with no new plan. I think there'll be localized kind of arrangements and plans and staggered classes and things like that. I don't think they'll just do nothing. And I believe that the schools themselves will do absolutely everything they can. But let's be realistic here. And I think they're starting with the littlest ones, aren't they? Yeah. Well,
okay, they take up less room because they're smaller. I get that. But also, they're the hardest to explain the importance of this, everything that's happening to, because their understanding isn't at the same level. We are talking about the kids that run around and pick each other's noses and stuff.
Yeah, no, you're right. You do get this sinking feeling again, don't you? But there we go. Maybe there's, the thing is, like you say, the frustrating thing is you can see the ending in sight. They're estimating by August, everyone will have had at least 1 vaccination, which I know it's not perfect, but that's probably enough to release almost all the restrictions. And then
sooner than that, wasn't it? I'm sure I saw June or July by
that's what I said by August. So
I thought it was like end of June or something. I'm sure I saw end of June.
Anyway, we'll say July because still that's a hell of a lot of people still. But
yeah.
You would have thought. I just thought why not leave it till Easter? for schools. I don't get why we have to open again, unless this is again the business lobby saying that they want people back at work, so you need to get the kids back. And when I say business lobby, we're not talking about ordinary businesses that are nearly going under because of this. We're talking about the rich fuckers who donate to the Conservative Party, who can afford to continually lobby because their commercial rents or whatever they want being paid. So I don't know. Hopefully it's not going to work out as badly this time, but it seems
it does feel like we've seen it before.
Yeah, this is
we've been
like
here. We've been here. We've done this a couple of times now, and
we're not even a year. We're not even a year yet from the date of the first lockdown, and we've had a further 2, and could be looking at a 4th if this goes wrong.
Yeah, and like I say, it'll be so much more. But not only will it be the 4th one, and everyone would be so fucking physically, mentally exhausted and just drained, emotionally, financially, whatever you want to fucking put on it. That entering a 4th lockdown would be fucking hard anyway.
Yeah.
But also, like we said, we've got this light. We've got this real positive, good news story. There's light at the end of the tunnel. There's something for people to grasp onto and go, okay, yeah, this has been a shit 11 months now. You know, okay, it's been fucking hard, but 3 or 4 months' time,
we're going to be living out.
And, you know, if we fucking shoot our load too soon, and it wouldn't be the first time. But yeah, we've seen it before. It's happened before. But no, if we do blow our load too soon on this, I think the effects on a lot of companies, a lot of people, would be immeasurable.
Yeah, point well made. Okay, let's wrap this up. Mike, I've noticed that you've continually gone back to euphemisms and bad puns, so you know it's been hard for everyone. Just
it's been hard.
So anyway, we know it has genuinely been hard for all of you largelets out there.
Yeah.
Just a message: we love you all. Anyone who's listening and playing and sharing us, we love all of you. We hope this provides some kind of amusement, or at least, oh yeah, those guys are suffering the same as me, kind of thing.
Something to do while you're having a shit, whatever.
Please send us some video evidence if you enjoy, playing us while you're on the shitter. I don't know, or having a bath and whoops. Oh. Anyway, that's all we've got for this week, and I'm sure there'll be lots next week. We'll discuss more about the roadmap to nowhere, I'm sure. And until next week, wish me a happy birthday, and I'm sure March will be a better month than all the months that have gone before, other than schools opening, but we'll see. Until next time, like, comment, share, and we will see all of you largelets next time.